What's up, guys? My name is Carolyn Castillo with Absolute Top Dollar. Today I wanted to come with you to talk about something that's been coming up in a lot of cases that we have been working on. So we specialize in helping personal representatives sell real estate inside of a probate case. So a personal representative is the person that is in charge of administering the deceased person's assets. So that can be, the real estate, that can be cars, that can be just any of their assets or any of their belongings. The personal representative gets the power to go ahead and do what needs to be done to get everything closed out and finalized for the probate. So recently, we have had quite a few families where either the personal representative or the heirs did not live in the property with the person that passed away, but somebody else was living in the home with the deceased person, okay? In a couple of these cases, it was two of them were girlfriends. Another one was a nurse, like an aide. And another one was just like, like I guess it was like a roommate situation or, something like that. But so it just so happened to be that we got all these right at the same time and they all had the exact same situation. None of the people that were living in the house with the deceased person willfully left the house, okay? And from my experience being on, the position that I have, so I'm not always working with the family of the deceased, they're always very caring and considerate of that person that's living in the house. And in all these cases, the family gave them the time to move out, okay? Obviously, if someone has passed away and you're living in their home, you know that it's only a matter of time before you have to move out. I mean, that should be, pretty understandable, but there's also a lot going on, right? So sometimes the family members don't live locally, so then it's actually kind of convenient having somebody live there because they can kind of watch after the place and stuff like that. But what ended up happening is in all these cases, the people never left the house. So at the beginning, when you're in probate, you don't really feel like a lot of pressure, or you don't feel like you're running too fast, because the probate attorney tells you like, this is going to take time, and so, typically what happens is, they file, the probate, then there's like a 90-day creditor period. That's when all, whatever monies is owed or anything is being turned in. And then in the process, you're also then starting to see like other heirs pop up and people finding out that, there's, an estate to be administered. So other family members start popping up and they want to, they want to get a piece of it. Let's just call it what it is, right? So then sometimes there's, so probate, there's like a lot of things that go on and there's a lot of time involved. So you kind of like take your foot off of the pedal about the person that's living in the house, right? Because it's like, well, they're actually kind of doing me a favor. They're in the house. I can't really do anything anyways because we're dealing with all this other stuff. But what ends up happening is that then when the time comes that they got to go, they're like, I'm not going anywhere. And you end up having to basically forcefully make them leave the house. So I thought, you know what, let me make a video of what options you have as a family that has going through probate, personal representative, or just heirs of the estate. So everybody knows the common word eviction, right? So it'd be like a formal document that you would, apply for with the county. But the eviction is not really what is required in this case because there's no lease involved. Typically, there's no like payment arrangement that they missed or they didn't follow through with. These are basically tenants in common with the real estate, okay? So I've seen attorneys do some couple different strategies, like they'll write a letter saying that, you know, you have to leave the house. My experience though is that these people are in a destitute situation. They don't have any money to really relocate, or, you know, they're having financial problems or emotional problems that it's hard for them to move forward. And it can be, right? They're the people that are living in the house where the person passed away. So there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of emotion. And some people take advantage, right? Some people, you know, and then the other sad part is 9 times out of 10, they stop letting the family in the house. And that's where I think it gets really, really nasty, you know, is we had one recently where the kids, it was 2 minors and their dad had passed away and the girlfriend was living in the house. And the person that passed away, he actually left money to her, which was nice, you know, and she could have taken that money and just went and started a new life, but she didn't. She just blew through the money and she refused to let the kids in the house. She refused to let the family in the house. And so, you know, and a lot of times that's what I see happen is they just get really combative with the family, and they don't, they stop giving you access to the house, and then things start going missing, and then I mean, it becomes a huge thing. So in my experience, I would highly, highly recommend not giving them time in the house, because from what I've seen is the family, when it first happens, it's everybody's sad. It's a shock. It's an emotional moment. And then when the people realize that you're giving them that time, it's almost like the same thing when, you know, the government, you know, offered the forbearance for the mortgages, you know, and it's like, okay, that's nice to maybe help people out for like a month or so. But what ended up happening is when people stop paying their mortgage or they no longer have the responsibility, then next thing you know, they never pay the mortgage and they end up getting a foreclosure and losing the house. I don't know, psychologically, it's just something that, you know, you should never be like getting something for free, because then you don't know how to manage it. You don't know how to then get your money together or be under pressure to say, hey, I got to move out. I got to, you know, I can't stay here. So my first recommendation would be is that if you're involved with a family house that you're inheriting and somebody lives there, if it's like the girlfriend, if it's, you know, obviously if it's your mom and dad and mom, you know, mom passed and dad lives there, I'm not talking about that at all. But you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, that it's, you know, your dad's house and his girlfriend was living there, or the caretaker was living there, or a buddy of his was living there, or something like that. You got to just real quick, like in that, yeah, you know what, we're going to be going ahead and, you know, say whatever you want to say. A family member's moving in, or we're just say whatever needs to be said, but make it that they need to leave as soon as possible. Because I think if the family sets it straight from that first encounter, like when it first happens, and, you know, like, after the, you know, the grieving process, the funeral, of course, I mean, all that's naturally going to take its own course. But then once things start to get to like, okay, we got to pick up his car, we got to clean out the house, we got to, like, when all that process starts, and you should encourage that person to leave the home right then and there. And it may have to get a little forceful in a sense, but it's gonna end up saving you a lot of heartache in the long run. Because in all these cases that I just did, they got dragged out for like months. Even one was like over a year that they drug the whole thing out, and they refused to leave the house. And then when they got the house back, there was nothing left in the house. Everything was destroyed. They had just, it was just so sad. There was nothing left to be taken. And, So the best thing is if you can't get them out on your own, like with you saying it, you know, then I would recommend, and your probate attorney 9 times out of 10 is not really going to have this on their radar. So it's not something that you can expect them just to like ask you for or bring up to you. This would be more of something you have to say to them, okay? And really stress to them the situation that this person is in the house, they're not paying the mortgage, they're not paying the rent, and I just don't want them to get too comfortable because I know we're gonna have to sell it, or I know we're gonna have to do whatever we have to do, and they're not getting a piece of it, or they're not. So people get bitter in that situation. They get angry, like the girlfriends of the deceased people, you know, like they're angry, like why is it in their house, you know? So it's sad all around, but it's at the end of the day, it ends up costing the family so much money. They end up destroying the houses, and it's just a huge mess. So the what you want to ask your probate attorney to do, okay, is to file what's called unlawful detainer action. Unlawful detainer action, okay? So what that's saying is that it's not an eviction, but it's basically saying that this person does not have any rights to this house. They're not on the mortgage, they're not on the deed, they're not in the inheritance that they're getting the money, there's no lease in place, there's nothing that, you know, ties them to this property. So it's called an unlawful detainer action. So the awesome thing about it is it's fast. So it's way faster than an eviction. And when they do that, it basically, once it gets filed, there's a 5-day period for that person to respond. And if that person doesn't respond, then they can immediately, the probate attorney can immediately file a writ of possession. And that actually gets filed directly with your police department. And the police department will go ahead and put them on the orders to actually physically remove them from the home. Okay. And then if they do respond in those 5 days, then they'll plead their case to the judge, and the judge, you know, this is not their first rodeo. They understand this happens, and they're going to say, do you have any legal rights to this property? Are you inheriting it? Are you interested in buying it? Are you going to buy the house? Like, what right? There's nowhere in America that you can stay living somewhere that's not yours, that you don't own and you don't pay for. What the judge is going to be just and say, listen, this is the deal. Unfortunately, it's a bad situation, but you've got to go find your own place, you know? So I wanted to give you guys that gem because if these clients that I was just working with, these last 5 families that we had been working with, if they would have done that, I think at the very beginning, it would have been a totally different outcome for them. But they didn't. They were like giving them time. They were like believing. They were like, oh, they're helping me. And then in the end, it didn't turn out that way. And they had to go through a lot of property damage and stuff like that. When you work with us, absolute top dollar, and we have those situations, we will go over and speak to them. In these cases that we were just in, we started working with the family after that family member had already like completely put the iron wall down and was not opening the door anymore, was not talking to anybody anymore, was not, you know. But if you started at the beginning, then we're able to go in and consult with them, and we help them get relocated. You know, we're compassionate for the people in this situation that, yes, that this was their home and now they have to leave. And it can be difficult, but absolute top dollar, our company works with the family to help that family member get relocated. And even if they don't have the funds, they don't have the money, there's services and there's, you know, social worker opportunities that we can connect them with to help them get reestablished, you know. So if you're filing a probate in the state of Florida, we would definitely love to speak with you, and you have real estate that you're going to be selling. we would love to schedule a consultation with you and see, you know, how we can help you, and definitely hope that this video helps and that you can, you know, handle the situation head on before it becomes a problem. And if you realize that it is going to become a problem, then you talk to your probate attorney and you say, please, let's move forward with an unlawful detainment order so we can get them removed from the house, because I don't want this to hold us up from selling the property or cleaning out the property or getting the stuff out of the property, stuff like that. Okay. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful. Have a blessed day. See you on the next one.